Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining our session today. I'm David Villarina, Director of Marketing here at ARC Facilities. Our session today is dedicated to sharing information on new product details for our core facility solution. There's a lot of exciting things happening here at ARC Facilities, and we continue to get input from facilities professionals on how we can improve our solution and make teams even more productive or make our product even more intuitive. So it's super easy to use and remains powerful for its users. A few things, a few housekeeping items before we get started. We are going to record today's presentation and we're going to make it available to you shortly after the delivery today. We'll be sending you a communication with a link to the slides. If you have any questions during today's session, feel free to include them in the chat or question window on the right of your screen, and we'll do our best to address all of the questions during today's webinar. We welcome any feedback on today's session. As I mentioned before, the communication that will be sent out to everyone later on. If you guys have comments on the delivery or other things that you'd like to see from ARC Facilities, we welcome all of that input. Very good. I'd like to introduce today's speaker. Jonathan Sterland is our Director of Product Development and has been with the company since 2001 and was part of the original team who built the ARC Facilities product a few years back. John is intimately familiar with the industry and spends a lot of time with facilities professionals and our customers who are always providing input on how we can make our product better. More recently, we've been spending a lot of time helping facilities teams in hospitals streamline their organizations. So John has a lot of healthcare specific experience as well. John, thank you for spending some time with us today. We're excited to learn more about the product and what's in store for the next version. Over to you.
All right. Thank you, David. I appreciate it. And welcome to everybody on the call. So I just want to run through kind of a quick agenda of what we're going to cover today, and then we'll dive right in. Excuse me. So we're going to start off with just a quick little facilities refresher. And this is really just to make sure everybody's kind of working from the same base set of knowledge. I want to make sure everybody kind of understands what the product does. And then we're going to dive into some recent release items. So these are features that we've released relatively recently that I think are tremendously beneficial to our customers. And so I'll walk you through some of those. And then since we're here, we thought maybe we'd do just a tiny little sneak peek at some of the things we're working on. So we'll pull back that curtain a little bit and let you know what's going on there. So let's get started. We'll dive into kind of a quick little refresher, just a refresher as to what is ARC Facilities, what does it actually do, and so excuse me, ARC Facilities basically is a technology platform. We're cloud-based. We load all of your facilities content into our platform, and then using AI and machine learning, we basically extract all of the intelligence out of those documents that we load there, and then we make all of that information available instantly, anywhere, anytime, on any device. And so we are very, very mobile focused. What you're going to see in all of the slides I show you today, and then later on when we get into the live app itself, you're going to see I'm going to show everything either on the mobile phone or probably a little bit of iPad as well. So excuse me, as I said, we've really focused the product on being mobile friendly, mobile first. And the reason for that is we want to ensure that technicians have the information they need in order to do their job when they need it. And that is to say, out in the field, whether they're standing on a roof or in a basement, we want to make sure they've got the information they need about the building or the equipment that they're working on while they're out in the field. They can pull that right out of their pocket. And ultimately, that should really streamline their workflow. That should allow them to be more productive. That's really the goal we're after there. Now, our platform is organized into a few different modules. I'm going to walk through those real quick. So the first module is our buildings module. And in the buildings module, basically what you're going to find are all of the plans, all of the as-built documents, all of the MEPs, the floor plans, the warranties, shut-off information, all of that kind of stuff is loaded into the system and linked. And excuse me, basically what that means is all of your documents are available at the touch of of your finger on your mobile device. You'll be able to just pinch, tap, and zoom your way through all of those blueprints or like I said, other documents. The next module I want to talk about is the equipment module. And basically what we found after releasing the first buildings module is our customers came to us and said, gosh, we really like what you've done with the building information. Could you do something similar for equipment? And so that was the next module that we released. And equipment, basically, it's the same kind of thing. We basically take all of the equipment information, load it into the system, and organize it and make it available. Now, we make it available a few different ways. We've tagged it for searching. So with just a few taps, you can quickly find all of the equipment in a particular space or building. You can search, of course, by name. And then we also, as part of our service, when we first come out and set up an organization, we have our professional services team go around and they attach QR code stickers to all of the main equipment. And that allows the users then to walk up with their phone, quickly scan it using the camera on their phone, and instantly have access to all of that information. And when I say that information, what I'm talking about are the O&Ms, the manuals, the warranty information, make, model, serial number, all of that, as well as if you're looking at it on the app, you can quickly identify the location of a piece of equipment so you can find it quickly. That can be key on a big campus. And then lastly, I want to talk about our emergency module. And the emergency module basically is a place for all of your emergency information, all of the information you might need during some kind of an incident. So your emergency plans, evacuation routes out of the building, safe refuge areas, where do you go, who do you call, the contact information. In addition, all of the emergency equipment is also located on floor plans. So if you need to find a call box or an AED or fire extinguishers or shutoffs, all of that information is instantly available through the app. So that's kind of my refresher or overview of what ARC Facilities is and what it's capable of. I want to dive into some of the more recent releases. I'm going to walk you through some I think really fun features that we've added into the platform, mostly at the request of our customers. A lot of these have been really driven by customer feedback and our experience in the field with those customers. So the first one I want to talk about are icons. So I mentioned all of the emergency equipment and the equipment module. And as we've been deploying equipment customers, one of the things we found is that our library of icons, I think we started out with about 65 icons. There were a few that we didn't have. And so the first thing we've added are about 16 or 18 new icons. And these, again, like I said, are the direct result of working with some of our customers. So people mover, VAV valves, fire department connections, that kind of thing. So you can see we've added all of those. And we really, obviously, we're trying to have an icon for pretty much anything that a normal facility, a typical facility might have. But one of the other things we realized is we can't have an icon for everything. Even with a library of 80, there's going to be pieces of equipment that we haven't thought of or that are maybe less common depending on the kind of organization we're working with. And so the next thing we added is a custom icon creator. And so this allows us to create icons that are unique to the organization. And you can see in my example here, I've created an ATM machine or a cash machine. And I've done that for a few things on this icon that I wanted to highlight. So first off, I want you to notice there's 8 different colors of icons that you can select from. Now, all of our icons are typically red, but we've allowed you to pick from these 7 other colors. You can go with our traditional red or pick one of your own. Here for money, I picked green. You also have the ability to name the icon. You can call it whatever you want to, anything that'll fit in that bar up there. In this case, I've called it cash machine. But I think when we're typically looking at a map, ATM is kind of those are the 3 letters associated with a cash machine. So you can see instead of using CM, which would be the first default letters it would typically put onto that icon, I've used ATM, which is a little bit more common for a cash machine. So hopefully what you can see from that is if you've got equipment in your organization that's maybe a little bit unique or different from what we might find in other organizations, if we don't have an icon for you, we'll be able to create one to meet your needs. All right, moving ahead from there, one of the other things we found as we traveled around doing all of these equipment deployments is we were doing a lot of the same icons over and over and over again. And now with a library of 80 of them, that can be a lot of scrolling, particularly if you are looking for an icon that is near the bottom of the alphabet. And so one of the things that we've recently added is what we call recently used icons. And so the 5 most recently used icons will now display right at the top of the icon selector window. So if I'm searching for that VAV valve, I don't have to scroll all the way down to the bottom. It'll be right here at the top. So you can see in this case, the recently used icons I've hit are exit sign, camera, and it looks like maybe a fire extinguisher off to the right there. And that slides horizontally. So you can see a lot of work related to icons have gone into this most recent release, and we're not quite done yet. I got a couple more here that I want to talk about. So in terms of placing all of those icons, we've enhanced that experience a bit. And so what we've done is we've added a magnify view when placing a pin. Now, previously, you would drop the pin, and wherever you dropped it is where it stayed. And you weren't able to easily maneuver that around. And so now, as you are placing that pin, as you drag your finger around, the magnify view will show you exactly where that pin is going to rest. The reason that this became important, what we found is that there's a lot of equipment that tends to be up against the edge of or up against a wall. And as we were placing the pins, we found it was awfully easy to get that pin on the wrong side of the wall. So instead of having a fire extinguisher in a staircase, in a hallway, you ended up with it halfway down a staircase, which could be confusing and weird to look at. So this magnify view allows you to very, very precisely position the location of these pins. Along with that, we added the ability to move those pins. So after they've been placed, in the event you did get it in the wrong spot, we do also still have the ability to reposition it. Holding down what they call a long press on the pin icon brings up the move menu. Tap that, and then on the right-hand side, you can see it puts it into a selector mode and allows you to move that icon around. And then lastly, with regard to adding these pins, one of the things that we found is that sometimes we were in locations where we were not able to get a good Wi-Fi or cell phone signal. And so in order to be able to add those pins and equipment while we were offline became important. And so we've added that capability as well. So now as you're out there in the field, like I said, positioning this equipment on those plans or updating it, you'd be able to do that in this offline mode. And then once your phone connects back to the internet, everything syncs up to the cloud and pushes out to everybody else. All right, and before we wrap up the recent updates, one more thing I wanted to highlight. David talked about it in his opening, and it is truly a focus for us, and that is ease of use. We really want our users to have a good user experience in the app. We want it to be an easy to use app for them. We really want to avoid having to have lengthy training sessions. And so one of the things that we've added are these help screens. Now, I've shown just a few of them here, but basically the first time you open the application, throughout the entire application on all of the key screens, you're going to find these kinds of help animations. And what they do is they highlight key features of the particular screen. After you've taken a moment to read what the feature is and what it does, you can press the skip or done button at the bottom of the screen, and then that animation will go away. You won't see it again. But like I said, we've done this for all of the key screens throughout the application. So the first time you encounter that screen, you'll get that messaging. All right, so that is the list of kind of recent features that I wanted to talk about. And before I dive into a sneak peek of some of the things we're building and where we're going, I just want to check in with David real quick and see how things are coming on the question side, if we have any questions.
Yep, good stuff, John. I do have a couple questions. I'll just throw out one for now. Noah has typed into the chat area. He's saying, looks cool, but how does all the info get into the app?
All right, that's a great question, Noah. And so basically, the way that this works is we work with one of our local on-site offices. We have about 160 of them across the country. And so basically what happens is one of our professional services managers works with you, and we send out a truck. We pick up that documentation, bring it into our facility, and scan and upload all of it. Now, if you have it electronically, we just upload it into the system electronically. And then from there, the AI and machine learning takes over and basically organizes it and populates the app as I've shown it here so far. Now, later on in the session here, maybe we'll move over to the live app and I'll show you what that really looks like in the real app. Okay. So I think let's dive into the sneak peek, and then we'll come back for some more Q&A at the end and see how that goes. So peeking behind the curtain, what are we working on? So like I said, there are a few things, and you probably sensed a little bit of a theme with some of the recent updates in terms of pins and equipment and all of the stuff that we're doing there. This is one that didn't make it into the last update, but should come out fairly soon, and that is the ability to print QR codes both in bulk and on your own. And what I mean by that is at the beginning of an engagement, when we first start working with a company, our team comes out, and as I mentioned, they walk around the facility, they enter all of the equipment into the app. And while they're doing that, they print out QR code stickers that they stick on the equipment. And this allows the technicians to quickly scan and access that information. Inevitably, within days after us departing the facility, somebody will get a new piece of equipment and need to put a sticker on it. Now, since we know that you guys don't have the fancy little printers that our team walks around with, we wanted to make sure that was available to you. And so basically, we now have the ability to, or will have the ability to print QR codes onto an Avery label style sheet, and we'll be able to provide the specific labels that are weatherproof and so forth. So that is a kind of an exciting new update for our equipment customers that we're working on. The next thing that I want to talk about is in the application, we have a tremendous number of photos. We take photos of the equipment, we take photos of shutoff valves, and lots of other stuff in there. And frequently what we find is people want to mark up those photos. They want to add information to those photos. So in the example I have on the screen here, this is a shutoff valve, and it's pretty common that we would add notation directly onto this photograph that would show which way to turn that handle, for instance, or what if there's something that needs to happen before you turn that handle. And the idea is we want to make sure that that information is available to anybody that might be accessing that shutoff valve. Maybe the person that needs to turn it, maybe it's 2 o'clock in the morning and it's the security guard. We want to make sure somebody who's less familiar with the facility is still able to troubleshoot in that moment. So what we're doing is we are updating the markup tools to utilize some really nice tools that Apple and that Google have provided through their operating systems. Previously, we had some markup tools that we had built, and what we found is that our customers are more comfortable using the built-in tools from Apple and from Android, and so we're going to be integrating those into the app. Okay, the next thing, this is one that on the surface sounds little, and in the end, it actually ends up being huge. This is the one I'm probably most excited about, and this is that we are adding QR codes and links to both pins and forms. Now, what does that mean? Why is that important? So you can see I've got the QR code sticker on the right-hand side there, and I mentioned that we QR code equipment. So when you walk up to that backup generator, you're able to pull up all of the information about that backup generator. That exists today. But by adding QR codes to pins and to forms, what we're now able to do is to pin locations. And so, for instance, if I wanted to, let's say, looking at this floor plan here, I wanted to drop an informational pin into that conference room in the middle of the screen. When I tap on that pin or when I scan the QR code as I walk in, we could put that QR code into the door jamb. And as you scan the QR code walking into the room, you'll then see all of the information about that conference room. So for instance, what furniture should be in there? What's the carpet tile, right? What's the information about the carpet tile or the paint chip or the lighting? So that if in the event you need to change a light bulb or replace a stained carpet tile, you have that information at your fingertips. So basically adding this QR code capability to pins and forms allows us to instantly access information about a room, or for instance, forms. So you could quickly scan and open a form that would then take you to, let's say, a custodial inspection form for a washroom or for a suite at a stadium. Okay, so that is one aspect of the QR codes that I think is exciting. But another one that we're super excited about relates to shutoff valves. Now today, with our shutoff valve set up in the app, basically you're able to tap on a shutoff valve and we can attach a map that shows basically the zone that is controlled by that shutoff valve, which is really handy. If you're going to go turn a shutoff valve for a maintenance purpose, it's nice to know, for instance, what part of the building are you going to turn off. Now, one thing we have not had, and what this feature will allow us to add, is the reverse of that. So for instance, I'm sitting in a conference room right now, and in the event water started pouring out the ceiling, and I want to know what valve controls this conference room, that's a little bit trickier. This technology will allow us to do that. So here, for instance, if I'm sitting in zone A, I'll be able to tap on zone A and have it link me to the pin that is associated to that shutoff valve. And from there, of course, then I can get to the specific information about that shutoff valve and how to close it. So this is a feature, like I said, I'm pretty excited about. It seems tiny on the surface, but tremendously powerful. So I'm excited about that one. And then the last thing that I want to talk about today before we get into Q&A is, excuse me, a deeper zoom in the viewer. So a lot of the work we've done, I mentioned, had to do with positioning pins on floor plans and equipment and that kind of thing. And one of the things that we found is some of the floor plans we're working with are extremely detailed. And what we found is we wanted to be able to zoom in just a little bit further than we could today. And so if I look at what our current max zoom is, so in the lower right-hand corner, you can see I've highlighted the quadrant. So if I pinch and zoom all the way in on this file, that's the area that will then fill my screen. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. What we decided is we wanted to go one step further. And so basically, we're now going to be able to zoom in on to an area about 1/4 of that size. So I'll put a little box inside there that shows you the size that we're now going to be able to zoom into. And so let's take a look at what does that actually mean kind of on screen here. And so I'm going to just show you the current max zoom. So this is the area as it fills the screen. You can see record drawings as reported fills the screen there. But now, as we move forward, we're going to be able to zoom one step further, and you'll see we're going to zoom into this area much tighter. That will become, I think, tremendously important as we are carefully positioning those pins, as I mentioned, in tight corners, in hallways, in small electrical closets, and that kind of thing. So that is a quick tour of the kind of a sneak peek at some of the things that we're working on. I'm hoping to see these features released in the not so crazy distant future. And until then, like I said, I hope you enjoy the features that I highlighted at the beginning of this presentation. And I suspect that we've got a little Q&A that we're going to dive into now.
Yeah, thank you, John. So I know that a lot of these enhancements and features are in direct response to what our customers and what other facilities professionals are asking for. So I know that they're super excited to get their hands on particularly this release. We do have a couple questions from the audience in the chat room. So Lucas has asked, how do you shut off a valve from this app?
Okay. You said Lucas, right?
That's right.
Okay, so Lucas, let's take a look at that. I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the live app now. So everything I've shown you so far has been in just PowerPoint. And let's jump over. So now I'm in the ARC Facilities app. And here I am. I'm in Valley Medical here in Portland, it looks like. And shutoff valves are stored. That information is kept in a couple of different places in our app. We keep it under buildings. We also keep it under emergency. So I'm going to take a look under buildings. And we're going to take a look at the medical center building number 4. And so now you can see this is the main homepage for building number 4. And you can see the third button down on the left-hand side there is shutoffs. And so I'll go ahead and tap that shutoffs button, and we're going to go to first floor. And from here, you can see all of the shutoffs that are related to the first floor of this particular building. Now, I don't have too many here. I can pretty easily see what they all are, but on a big facility, I'm sure you can imagine there could be a lot of them. And so I do want to show the view menu at the top of the screen. I can open this up and I can hide everything, but then select the one that I'm actually interested in. So in this case, I'm going to tap water. And now I'm just showing the shutoffs related to water. I'll tap the one in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, and that will bring up the details about that particular shutoff valve. And of course, I can open that picture and get the specific information on that valve as well. So I hope that answers your question, Lucas. And let's see, David, what else you got?
Thanks, John. Reynaldo is asking, would like to understand how to read floor plans from the phone.
Okay, so everything I'm showing you right now, I'm showing on the iPad, but the interface is nearly identical for the phone. I say nearly identical because it looks exactly the same, just smaller. Basically, it's skinnier, but otherwise, all of the buttons, all of the menu items, everything else is pretty much in the same place. The app works exactly the same. So rather than switching over to my phone, I'm going to show you here on the iPad, but know that everything I'm showing you can be done on the phone as well. And so Ronaldo, you said, wanted to understand how to read floor plans. So again, I'm going to dive into the building section. That's under the building section of the app.
Maybe touch upon as-built as well, because I know a lot of people like to see that feature.
Yep. Okay, a good idea. So let's take a look. So again, I'm going to go to the medical center facility. So this is that home page, and in the upper left-hand corner, what you're going to see are as-built list view and as-built map view. Those are the two primary features on this page. And let's take a look at the as-built list view. And so this is a hospital, and I'm sure you guys know in hospitals, they tend to do a lot of renovations. So this building's been around for a little while, and you can see this is a long list of all of the renovations that have been done in this particular facility. Now, I can see each one of those sets of renovation drawings, and they're all just listed by date here. Excuse me, and name. Now, if I know what set I'm looking for, I can go ahead and just tap on it, and that'll bring up the set. And looking at the drawing index, you can see all of those sheets are also linked. And so just by tapping on one, it will jump me right to that particular page. And then, of course, I can zoom in and see whatever details I want to see. Now, one of the things about this, however, is that that's not always the easiest way to find the documents for your project. So for instance, if I wanted to know where are the documents, what are the most recent documents that affect the room I'm sitting in, right? And so instead of going to that list view and guessing which one of those 27 renovations is the appropriate one, instead, I'm going to go ahead and use the as-built map view. And tapping on that, or again, we'll go to first floor here. And you can see in this view, we've layered up all of the as-built drawings based on the renovation and when it was completed. And so if I'm sitting in this PEDS exam room, 1446 here, kind of near the middle of my screen, I can see that there are two renovations that have touched that. One in 1989, down in the lower left there, the eye procedure expansion, and one in 2000, the occupational health relocation. And again, if I tap that, occupational health relocation, it jumps me directly to that set of documents, and I can quickly and easily navigate my way through them using that drawing index, as I mentioned before. So I hope that answers your question.
Great, thanks, John. I think we have time for another question. James, thanks for asking the question. James is asking, I see emergency as a button. What does it do? So that's a pretty loaded question. Maybe you can just kind of do the highlight on that.
Yep, absolutely. So when I tap the emergency here on this homepage, basically it's going to give me the same kind of campus map that I've had before. Again, I'm going to open up the medical center, and you'll see it will take me to what we call the emergency dashboard. And as I mentioned in the opening, from here, basically what we've done is we have organized all of the information that you might need during an emergency. So the emergency plan, the evacuation routes, safe refuge areas and contacts, and so on. The shut-off information is available here under emergency as well, in case you need to shut off that gas line or water line. And then emergency equipment. Let me just tap on that one real quick. And similar to shutoffs, the emergency equipment allows me to see an overview of all of the emergency equipment in the space. Now, again, this is kind of overwhelming, so I'm going to go ahead and just highlight, for instance, the defibrillators. And so you can see at a glance, it was very quick and easy for me to get to the information about one of those defibrillators, and tapping on the details of it then brings up, or the icon for it brings up the details about that particular item. So that's really, in terms of the emergency dashboard, it's about putting all of that information right there at your fingertips, available on your phone. Earlier, I think it was James or Ronaldo, I forget, asked about floor plans. We also have clean, nice floor plans here that don't have any markups on them. And the reason for this is in the event, say, of a first responder arriving on site and they want to know what's behind that door before they kick it open or knock it down, the send feature at the top of the screen allows me to send that document. And just by tapping on it, I can then go ahead and bring up the current view and text that information off to whoever might need it.
Very good.
And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to David.
Great. Thanks, John. So for those of you that have further questions, we certainly welcome them. Shortly, we'll be sending out a communication to all of you. And if you have comments on today's session or would like a specific question answered, please send us a note. We'd be happy to address it. That's all we have for today. I want to thank all of you for attending. It's always a pleasure to share updates on what we're working on over here at ARC Facilities. But more importantly, we like to connect with all of you out there. Essentially, you guys are the reason for what we do and the inspiration behind the product. So thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you at our next event. Have a great rest of your week, everyone. Bye now.